All right, well, today's movie has to deal with a pair of twins. So just out of curiosity, do you guys have a lot of experience or interactions with twins throughout your life?
I know no twins.
Not a single one?
As far as I'm aware.
Not a pair?
No, not a pair.
What is a pair of the twins called?
Twinsies.
Okay. That makes sense.
I don't know if that's accurate. Twins, get at us. Let us know. No, I have no experiences. None experience.
That's a sentence you can say.
Yeah, if it's RPG, I have level 0 in my twin skills.
Like, so there's identical and then there's... Fraternal.
Yeah.
We're also joined by Emma today. Welcome back.
Hello.
She's our twin expert. So
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
I've seen the movie Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito.
That's where I got most of my twin knowledge from. So
You thought they'd never look the same?
No. In fact, I thought they had to look diametrically opposed. If they looked similar at all, it was something was wrong. So
Opposite twins.
Opposite twins.
That's what they're called.
Yeah. Turns out they can look the same.
Wow. Biology is neat.
Dude, it's wild out there.
Yeah.
I've known several pairs of twins.
Oh, you're a resident expert here. Tell us more.
No, I'm not an expert. I am not a twin.
I've never been a twin either. Just putting that out there. There's
Well,
not
to your knowledge. Maybe you absorb the twin in the womb.
Yeah.
Could have done that. Could have been separated at birth. Can you imagine
Your
if there's
mom just
another
didn't tell
me
you?
on the other side of the coast?
You know what? There's 7-8 billion of us. Statistically speaking, there's probably another Mark.
Well, do you guys know any famous twins?
Doublemint twins, they're famous. There's-
Mary Kate and Ashley.
Yeah,
That's probably the pinnacle of twin.
yeah, the twins from
Famedom,
The
right?
Shining.
They're
True.
actually not twins. They're
What?
just dressed the same. Yeah, they're actually just sisters.
This is the kind of twin knowledge that you're bringing to the podcast. Okay, learned something new today. So they're out.
The gal from Terminator 2.
Oh,
Why-
Linda Hamilton
Linda Hamilton, yes.
of the Hamilton musical fame.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nailed it. I'm sure they're related.
Yes, her sister was in Terminator 2, right?
Yes. No, Linda Hamilton is in Terminator 2.
Yeah, but didn't they use her sister for some of the scenes?
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Don't come to me for my Terminator 2 knowledge.
What?
It's not there.
You know Arnold Schwarzenegger turned 75?
Oh, God.
I know. We're
Really?
getting so old, y'all.
We are
Let's turn this
ancient.
about us.
Hey, all you creatures from cyberspace. Thank you for joining us on another episode of the GraveTalk podcast. My name is Mark. Again, joined with Garrett and... Oh,
No.
he's not here.
Yeah.
Where'd he go?
Garrett
Oh.
has got the COVID.
That's what that email said.
Yeah.
I just deleted it and moved it directly to
Coronavirus.
trash. So he finally went down with the COVID, huh?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what, last man standing. Bam! That's right, suckers.
It's coming for you.
It's-
You're next.
Yeah, it's stalking out my window. I had to leave with a bat today, swat away 3 COVIDs.
Well, keep it up. Well, Garrett, if you're listening, hope you feel better, buddy. That pillar of the podcast who's been here for every episode.
Yeah, combo breaker.
Sometimes it's got to take a nap and feel better too. So, but Emma, you're back. Thank you so much for filling in on such short notice.
Yep.
What have you guys been up to since last time? What was last time? Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Jeez. I need more coffee. I'm going to drink some
Wow,
while you
and that
tell me
was-
what you've been up to.
All right, let's see. I rewatched Get Out.
Ooh, fantastic.
Such a
Good
good
one.
movie. My wife had never seen it, so now she has.
Did she like it?
She did. Yeah, I think it's impossible to not like that movie. And if you don't like it, I don't want to hear about it.
Leave your opinions at the door.
Yeah.
The mystery of figuring out what's going on is so much fun in that movie.
It was fun watching her watch it because, like I already knew what was happening and it was still good to watch. But watching her like try to work through it for the first time, I was like, oh, I'm so jealous of you.
I think I do still prefer that one over Us.
Yeah. Same.
Just because Us is more like kind of a more nebulous commentary where
Yeah.
the logistical steps in the movie don't quite add up if you think about it too hard, but the message is there.
I loved
It's still
Us,
a very good movie, yeah.
But it had too many plot holes, and that really bothered me.
Like I think I said it, but where did they get all them scissors?
Yeah, or bunnies.
6 billion pairs of scissors?
The clones? whatever they were, had to make their own scissors like elves.
Oh.
Or like Jedis. You know how Jedis make their own lightsabers?
You're right. They're down there smelting and smithing under the earth. Good point. Plot hole resolved. Thank you, John.
That's what my headcanon's here for. And I also watched a movie called Uncle Sam.
Oh, yes. The one where Uncle Sam is the killer, right?
Yeah. That's exactly it. That's the whole plot.
From America fame.
Yes, from America. Different Uncle Sam, it turns out. This was a kid's Uncle Sam.
Ah, yes.
Samuel, is I believe his full name. Uncle Samuel.
His full Christian name, as they say.
I don't think we learned his last name, but I assume it's America. Samuel America is the murderer.
And what happened in this movie?
Well, mostly it's about a little young MAGA fan spouting how great America is. That's like 70 minutes of the 90-minute movie. And anytime anyone just sort of vaguely sideswipes America, that kid is there to hope bad things happen to you.
He's like McCarthy Jr.
Yeah, and he's just so like disappointed in everybody. He's like, "Oh, you didn't sign up for the army? My uncle says you're a coward." Not me though, because he's a little schwarmy MAGAite. He's like, "I didn't say you were a coward, but my uncle just repeating what he said."
He's disappointed in his mom, disappointed in his aunt, just anybody he can be disappointed in.
Except America.
Yeah, that's not disappointing. There's nothing bad America's ever done.
No, and this kid's like 7. Oh, maybe he's 10. He's, in that young age, and he's just obsessed with his uncle that he met for like 20 minutes.
Listeners, John does not know any children.
No,
so
I'll tell
cut him
you
some slack.
This is a well-known problem of mine, is that I cannot age children. They just sort of jump in age groups to me, like preteen. I got that. Mm-hmm. Then at some point they're a toddler, and then they're an adult, and that's the best that I...
In that order?
Yes, I assume that's how it goes.
We're going to have to put you back in biology class, John.
Yeah, so you know what? Thumbs down on that. Apparently, though, it was on The Last Drive-In.
Yeah, it was a Joe Bob episode, so it was fun seeing the behind-the-scenes stuff. I would also not recommend it.
No.
After all said and done, it was not that good, but I'm glad I got it out of the way.
Yeah.
So I saw it.
And you know what? Cliffhanger for next week. I'm halfway through a killer movie called Alligator, where they flush an alligator down a toilet, and now it's eating people's arms. So I don't know. I don't want to spoil. Nobody spoil it. Mm-hmm. But I think the gator's involved somehow. So I'll find out. Tune in next episode. I'll let you know how Alligator ends.
Is it in New York?
I doubt it. Here's what I know so far. The detective is balding because every character talks about his hair for some reason, just unusually, and it's not a natural. The guy's like buying a dog at a pet store, and he's like, "Oh, you're balding too. Look at me. I'm bald. I could see that you're balding."
It's all we talk about, us balding type.
It's like a really important plot point.
Yeah, I hope it turns around. Maybe he defeats the gator by the power of his baldness. I don't know, but
he like shines like a light off of his head.
Care Bear style. But instead of a chest, it's his head. So we'll see.
Turtle waxes his dome so the gator can't get a good grip on his skull,
Yeah.
Just keeps sliding his jaw off.
Oh, okay. Maybe he fights the gator once and he loses. Then he goes in recovery. He's got to find himself and he accepts his baldness and he shaves his head.
Yes.
And then he comes back as the bald detective.
Can we please get a blood sport style montage?
Yes.
As he's learning about himself. Man, our movies are better than what
So
we see.
much.
I would so watch that.
Every cut in the montage, he's shaving one part of his head, So
it's a shave, and then he's like jump
Yes.
roping and then shave. Yeah, this is perfect.
okay, so if Alligator does not turn out that way, I'm gonna be very disappointed. But listeners, watch it yourself, or better, download our next episode, and I'll tell you what to think.
That's what they call a tease.
Yeah.
Emma, have you watched anything fun that you want to bring up?
Well, I just watched Men the other day.
Ah, yes, I've been wanting to see that. Is it worth it?
No.
Oh, bummer.
It wasn't terrible. And the first 2/3, I was really into it. It was freaky. It had a lot of good suspense. It was also beautifully done. And then the last third, I didn't like it. It was at the same time too on the nose and too nebulous. You have to watch it. It's just...
That really does sum up Men, though. Yeah, you're really rooting for us for the first third of our lives, and then it's just...
You blew it, man.
Yeah.
You blew it. That's interesting. So it was trying to make a statement and doesn't really commit to either side. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Well, no, it's more like you can tell what it was trying to say, but then the movie itself, like the story doesn't resolve very well. And so it's kind of frustrating because it feels like, okay, I get it. Like men suck. Just like Garrett said, it's like, ugh, men. It's like what it should have been called.
As a man, I'll tell you what, I suck.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything important to bring up other than letting everybody know that I'm still watching the Resident Evil Netflix show. I've gotten through 6 episodes. That is a television program.
6 out of 8, right?
Yeah, so I've got 2 more to go. I'm going to finish it off. This is finding itself kind of in line with something I would consider to be like a CW program.
Ooh, that's pretty bad.
You know, but as I've gone along and watched this, it's been interesting to find out that the events of this television program do incorporate the 1998 Raccoon City story from the video games, from the movie we just did.
Okay.
So this is actually wedging itself into that timeline where those things existed. When I started this program, I had no idea they were going to go this route. It felt like a complete reboot, but it's not. It is a continuation.
Of the movie that we watched?
It can't be because Wesker in the show is black and Wesker in the movie was white, but it's made by the same company, which really is like, why did you guys not just make it all one package deal?
Yeah.
Now they're separate. But maybe like if this one doesn't land, maybe this one will land. You know what I mean?
Little did they know, 0 for 2 on landing.
I'm still kind of 50-50 on the movie.
I like the movie,
Yeah, I think
actually,
it's
yeah.
okay. But it's been really interesting to see them roll those things out. And it's heavily in the post-apocalyptic phase of this. The main character is looking for a way to make like an anti-zombie spray. And an anti or
Like
an
bear spray?
attraction. Yes. A little bit of spoiler if you haven't seen this, but in episode 5 or so, they find a queen zombie that can communicate and basically have them like kind of the horde do what they want, which isn't a new concept. I've seen it in other stories.
Is it in the game,
It's
though?
like the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
Right. It's not in the game, at least not to my, I don't recall that ever being. It definitely wasn't in the early ones for
All right.
sure.
Well, email us and let us know if it's in the game.
And I was telling you there was a scene where they were getting chased by a giant spider, which I did appreciate because
Yeah.
those are in the game. One character sacrifices himself so the others can get away, but they all stop and watch him die and then scream and waste the extra time that poor man gave them.
Oh my God. If I was him, I'd be so mad.
I know. I'd be like, why did I do this?
Stop watching.
Well, let's talk about a movie that has to do with familial bonds that might get out of hand. And
No zombies, though.
No zombies, but drug addiction that could make you act like one, perhaps.
Oh, just say no, kids.
Whoa, is McGruff the crime dog just walk in the house? Who let you in?
Not an original thought, but when you were in school, didn't they lead you to believe that you were going to get offered drugs just constantly?
Yeah.
Yeah, never happens. No one's giving away their expensive ass drugs, just shoving it down your throat.
You've never been offered drugs?
Well, with friends, but
I'm
not by
like-
strangers.
no, not
in
by
the lunch-
strangers,
No.
but I'm like, I've been offered drugs.
Yeah, my
lots of
friends offer me drugs, but that's probably why we're friends, right? I've never just been like walking down the street and someone's like, "Yo, you want some crack?"
Oh, man, yeah. 80s and 90s parents believed that all strangers just want to give the
Yeah.
drugs away.
That's just
Yeah,
how
they're
you
wearing
got
a trench coat and
Yeah.
they're like, hey, I got some meth in here.
I wish that existed. I want to see those guys on the street in the coats.
Dude, it's like shockingly hard to find drugs in a new place. So
Right. Where are the street corners at? Really, the DARE officer is the one that showed me what to look for in their nice briefcase.
That's
They would
true.
show all the drugs and be like, these are the good ones. down here." You're like, thank you, Officer
If it
Steve.
doesn't look like this, don't take it. Oh, okay. So that's what I need to keep an eye out for. Got it.
Oh, dear. What a failed program that was.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess it depends on its goals. If its goals was to teach you about drugs, I learned.
Just not to say no. Anyway, Dead Ringers is what
Yeah.
we're here to talk about from 1988. Now, this one is labeled as a psychological thriller starring Jeremy Irons in a dual role. And for a minute there, I was like, does Jeremy Irons have a twin?
Right? He was
Yeah.
so good.
You know,
like,
he was. He was very good at his role. I was like, okay. Because this was the time of Hollywood where you could really tell when actors would act against each other. And it'd be very noticeable, like, oh, that back of the head is not Marty McFly in Back to the
Yeah.
Future 2. I'm not buying that shit. You
Not
know?
in this movie, though.
No.
Astonishing. Well, like,
I want to know how
astonishingly
much
well
that
done.
cost.
All the money.
Well, and he's such an amazing actor too. Like
is.
he does an amazing job. You totally can tell, like once you get to know the characters, which one is Elliot and which one's Bev.
I had some confusion about halfway through the film.
Really? 'Cause
Yes.
I feel like pretty soon you can be like, okay, I know who is who in every scene.
But you know what? The giveaway, one wears a blue tie, one wears a red tie.
I literally did not notice that. Is that true?
And my wife was like, look, they're wearing different colored ties. That's how you can tell.
What? Oh my God. I've seen this movie like 10 times.
I wrote down, did the ties mean something? Because at the end, he's wearing a red and blue tie.
Because they're Siamese.
Because they're the same.
They are the same.
Now, do you think he got paid for 2 actors' salaries?
I know for a fact they gave him 2 dressing rooms.
Okay, well, then yes, I'm going to assume he got 2 salaries, two goes at the crafts table.
Jeremy Irons gets double lunch.
Yeah.
Let him through. I did watch a little bit of the behind the scenes where Jeremy Irons is talking about his method acting for this. And they were asking, like, it was like a BAFTA Awards thing that happened like 10 months ago or so. So this is really new. They're like, well, how did you go about approaching both twins? And he's like, it was all kind of where I would put the energy of the character. So like Elliot, all the energy was in his forehead, somewhere you would headbutt somebody with. Mm-hmm. But for Beverly, he'd put all the energy in his throat. Like he was nervous, and that's how he would like differentiate the characters. And he's like, I think that kind of comes through. And I was like, yeah, actually that kind of did come through.
Yeah, it totally does. I need to see this now.
Yeah, it was neat. It's on YouTube. I'll send you a link. But yeah, I was like, okay, that's really interesting.
I could never be an actor. That doesn't mean anything to me. Where like I see it on screen, but like someone's like, put all your energy in your forehead. I don't know what you're telling me to do.
You're like, sorry.
I understand that it's an English sentence, but I can't do that.
You want me to headbutt who?
Yeah, what now?
Well, Dead Ringers is loosely based on a true story of a pair of gynecological doctors. Is that correct terminology?
Yeah, gynecologist. Yeah.
Gynecological is a very long word to say.
Yeah.
That's a Scrabble winner, if you can put that down.
Hit the double word score and it's over.
These doctors' names were Stuart and Cyril Marcus, if I'm not mistaken. It was in the 70s.
Okay.
So a lot of the storyline about the love plot that goes on in this, that doesn't seem to be true. And I think that was the part that David Cronenberg wrote.
I don't think it's true.
But they did have a barbiturate drug dependency, and they did both end up dead. So that's and then I think it was novelized in something called Twins in the 80s also.
So in real life, they were twins as well.
Yes.
I just want to make it clear for other, folks. I understood that. I totally knew, but as the audience representative,
The artistic interpretation. I'm just going to make them twins.
You never know.
Write a book called Twins, and then yeah.
Well, look, what are the odds that two people are going to be twins and they're both going to be gynecologists? You knew that was going to be a interesting story from day one.
You've heard of the phrase "dead ringers," right?
I assume that's when two things look the same.
Yes.
That's a dead ringer.
You got it.
Yeah.
So you just thought it was two people that look similar?
Well, no, I knew these people. I know that in the movie they were twins. I picked up on that. One of my first questions was, do other people know that they're twins? Because at some points it seemed like they were tricking people, and then I understood.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and that's what I want to get into. A lot of things that I expected to happen that didn't happen. And it could be just as we've seen so many of these movies, and when you were on last time and we talked about Excision, which I thought was a very well done movie that had a lot of intrigue and questions in it. This one, for me, was a little bit light on what it was bringing in terms of just my expectations. So I think I wanted more from the film. And I think I said that about Crimes Against the Future, too, or Crimes of the Future.
See, I wondered what you thought of this movie in comparison to that. Because whenever I saw Crimes of the Future, I was like, wow, this is like a worse version of Dead Ringers in a way. It's different in a lot of ways, but
the sci-fi knob is turned up in that one, right? So this one feels
and
like more
the cringe knob.
the sci-fi and the cringe knob are right next to each other, by the way. Those are easily turned up by both.
Yeah, see any 80s sci-fi movie.
Exactly. This one seems more limited to the real world. I mean, probably because it is based on a true story. You said this is one of your favorite movies, right?
Yeah, it's my favorite Cronenberg, for sure.
Beats The Fly, beats Videodrome.
Yeah, and I love those movies. I do. I love Cronenberg. I'm a big fan. But this is my favorite one. Well, and I know it is more realistic than most of his stuff.
Well, why is this one your favorite?
Because it's one of the most disturbing movies I've ever seen. And every time at the end, I feel just gutted. And I feel like it really explores like what it is to talk about identity and male versus like feminine and just relationships. Like I just, it's so deep. And I think it sounds like a simple storyline whenever you talk about what happens, but the actual, like, especially Jeremy Irons, like, just exploring identity and what does it mean to be a person, because really the twins, I think, represent two sides of a person.
My wife, who watched this with me, we stopped and go, is this going to be like a Fight Club? Oh. Like, is one of them not going to be real? I could have totally
seen that.
Yeah, because at some point we thought maybe one overdosed and the other one just started playing both.
Okay.
That would have been a cool movie, too. I would also watch that movie.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, we came up with a lot of ideas thinking that there was going to be more, I guess, fantastical, and not so rooted in reality. And I think that's where I went wrong with this movie, is my expectation was Cronenberg, Videodrome, The Fly, like all this crazy stuff that he normally brings to his movies that are just like out there.
I think that's what makes it creepier to me then, is that it is more realistic. And I know that it's like a thriller / horror, and I know that you might think it's not horror, but I think it is, because I think it gets to some deeper rooted fears that are not just those surface level easy scares like spiders or zombies or something. It's about like, who are you and what is your purpose and what is love and what is like masculine versus feminine and why does it matter? And I also love how Cronenberg took something very unsettling for a lot of people, especially men, like gynecologists. And, like it's very hard for a lot of the guys I've known to sit through this movie. They feel like it's really uncomfortable. And I think it's uncomfortable for women in a different way. And I think that that's really interesting that he took something and it gives it an extra layer of just a weird, disturbing feeling.
If you also put it into the context of this being an 80s film, back when the masculine, feminine lines were much harder. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Very more defined in the 80s than it is now. We're a lot more accepting of that being a little more fluid these days.
I think that it was kind of like, futuristic in that way, because it was looking forward to like when people were going to explore those parts of themselves that were not so exclusively masculine and feminine. And that is what the movie is about. And so I think that's really awesome.
So, see, this is exactly why I'm glad you're here. So you can help me and John, two men, non-gynecological doctors, understand some of this stuff. So it's starting to make a little more sense now, right? So this is more about the horrors of the individual. In particular, we'll say Beverly, right? He's the one going through the majority of this, one of the two twins.
I mean, I think that like Elliot also actually goes through a lot of things. Like he has to find himself because he sees himself as part of this duality. And whenever Beverly wants to break away, that causes him to have an identity crisis.
First, let's get through the info of this one.
Mark's going to look up the Rotten Tomatoes score. Do you know it?
No, but I hope that it's good.
All right, what's your guess? What's your guess for the Rotten Tomatoes score?
I would think that critics probably liked it more than the audience. Right. But I don't know. I think the audience is probably like 60.
Okay. I'm going to say audience score 45.
I am shocked at what I'm looking at right now.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay. According to Rotten Tomatoes, Dead Ringers is sitting at an 83% with the critics. Okay. Which seems right.
Yeah.
It seems like a critical darling, right?
Totally.
Maybe not at the time. I think it got mixed reviews, but as these movies tend to do, people re-examine them later on, and it's becoming more of a cult classic. 82% with the audience.
What?
It's
Yay.
1 point off.
People love it. See, you guys are wrong.
Yeah.
I know. We're in the minority here.
You know, they probably got swayed by the incredible 80s set design. They're like, oh, this is, you know what? I like this, so I like the movie.
I miss CRT monitors.
Yeah.
In doctors' offices. Just so you know, that's out of 10,000 plus reviews.
Well,
Damn, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Wow, people really do love this movie.
Yeah.
They like it. They really like it. All right, well
here's
interesting.
You're like, well, I guess I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm very used to being wrong. Also, when I was watching this movie, I was like, I bet other people like this movie. It turns out about 8,000 of them do. So,
well, look, this is about bringing opinions. This isn't like setting the GraveTalk grade. We often disagree on things.
That's true.
And that's why I wanted someone who likes it to bring their opinions and tell us why they think it's
so we
good.
could tell them how wrong they are, right?
But it turns out you are wrong. Yeah, because Rotten Tomatoes.
Right. Yeah, we're going to have to Mark and I are going to regroup, so we'll be right back.
Yeah.
You guys are going to go change your mind. Like, you know what? Actually, we love it.
It turns out I like it now. All right. Well, this was directed by David Cronenberg, also written by David Cronenberg. Like I said, it was based on true life events and a novel as well called Twins. This one stars Jeremy Irons as Beverly and Elliot. They are the titular twins.
And he was so hot in it too.
Okay.
Mark agrees.
My favorite part of this whole movie is when 40-year-old Jeremy Irons pretends to be in college.
Oh, yeah. Undergraduate, too.
I know,
Whenever they
like-
said that, I was like, no.
And I was like, this can't be happening. I was like, oh, no, he's going to age up and we're going to go to the 80s. So they just put him in the role.
Would you have liked the movie better if he had stayed an undergraduate at his age?
Just acting around teens. Yeah, that would have been hilarious. Genevieve Bejold as Claire. I don't think we need to know any of these people.
No. I think you hit all the people that you need to
There's
know
like
in the movie.
3 people really need to know.
Yeah. Jeremy Irons doing double duty and then 2 other actors and or actresses.
Yeah. I mean, the actress who played Claire did a great job. So.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
She was amazing.
And this one had a budget of $13 million and it made $14 million at the box office.
Oh, critical or money success.
Not really.
No, you got to make double, right?
But maybe on rentals, you know.
Okay, that's true.
Speaking of, here's what the back of the VHS tape has to say about Dead Ringers.
It's my favorite part.
In The Fly, David Cronenberg mesmerized audiences with a horrifying tale of the disintegration of the human body. Do you know what kind of expectation a sentence like that sets on your movie?
Yeah.
That is intense.
Well, maybe the next sentence is, he does not do that in this movie.
Do not expect that here, viewer, or you will be let
Yeah.
down. Now in Dead Ringers, an instant classic, in quotes. Why is it in quotes?
Sarcastic.
Yeah.
Says Mike Clark of USA Today. That's
that's
why
why-
it's in quotes.
All right, Mike Clark.
Now
Sounds
in,
made up.
That's a fake name. Now in Dead Ringers, an instant classic of psychological terror, he explores the disintegration of the human mind. With chilling and profound mastery, Cronenberg tells the story of identical twin gynecologist Suave Elliot and introspective Beverly, opposite sides of one personality, who share the same practice, the same apartment, ... and the same women. Then one special woman enters their lives, and the twins, their bizarre bond threatened for the first time, descend into a whirlpool of sexual confusion, drugs, and madness.
Did they call it an instant classic twice?
No, I reread that sentence.
Okay.
If they really ran out of stuff to say, so let's just repeat that again.
All right, there.
I thought that was a pretty good back of the box.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward, and let me know what it is, and it's an instant classic, and it's not The Fly, but you know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I was pretty crafty. That marketing person was pretty good. They're like, in this movie, it disintegrates the body. Sounds great, right? Over here, we're going to disintegrate the mind. So turn it down. It's all up in your
but
head.
I think that makes sense because it is like I was saying, it's not
Yeah.
like a bodily horror. It's like a psychological
I
horror.
concur. I think it was very accurate, but it was also very well done to like set that high bar of, remember this movie you liked? Here's another one, kind of like it.
That person earned their
He
paycheck.
sure did.
My wife doesn't like a lot of old 80s movies,
I love
and
it.
she's younger than me. So you being even younger than my wife, I was surprised that this is one of your favorites. So I was just
Yeah.
curious when you saw it.
I thought you were going to ask her if she saw this in 1988. and
I was going to
like,
say I was born in 1988.
I was gonna say, no, I wasn't going to
I
ask
didn't
that.
realize that's why I like it so much.
Oh, it's my birth movie. It's like your
birth
birthstone.
I saw this movie probably about like 8 years ago or something. Like I love older movies though. And I think I saw it because I was just going through the whole Cronenberg list, like filmography. Yeah, I hadn't heard of it before. It was more that I was like into kind of a Cronenberg phase. And then I was like, oh, what's this one? And then it ended up being my favorite. And yeah, a lot of people haven't heard of this movie,
I was going to say, until you brought it up, I'd never heard of it.
Me either.
which is such a crime because it is so good.
Let's just go around the table. Emma would vehemently recommend this movie.
Yes. 10 out of 10.
I am kind of 50-50-ish, but maybe with Emma's help, by the end of this episode, I will recommend it.
Yeah, peer pressure is what you're counting on here. Between Emma and Rotten Tomatoes.
John, what about you?
Would I recommend it?
Yes.
If you like, you know what it kind of reminded me of? American Psycho.
Yes.
So if you like
I
that
love
kind of
that too.
movie, I'd recommend it. I think I liked American Psycho more than this one, but it's not a bad movie. Maybe because of the name, I expected more. I expected more of a horror-y type movie, and I understand it's more, psychological.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
Yeah, that's twice now. This twin thing is really creeping me out here. And then also when there's like that one scene where it is a little bit like gross, and I was like, oh shit, is the movie switching gears? But no, that was just to tease you. And then it going right back to not that.
Being that it was a Cronenberg film, I really expected once that scene happened, I thought we were going to get a lot more of that. Like it was just going to tumble into like a visual grotesqueness that didn't come.
Yeah, I was like, oh, so this is going to be another Dream movie. I see what Emma likes, but no, it wasn't that.
No, I like weird surgical movies, apparently.
2 for 2, but you're coming back for a zombie one before.
Yeah, and I do like that
long.
movie.
What's the sibling situation in that movie, though? Do one or both of them end up dead?
I don't think there's any zombie twins.
Oh, no
or
twins? I'm
zombie
out.
brothers in Return of the Living Dead.
Zombie twins. That would be... There's a movie. Write that down for GraveTalk Studios.
Okay, it's coming up. I think I'm with you, John. It depends what you're looking for, and I think now if I could rewire my expectations and watch it again, I bet I'd like it more.
I agree that it's very like American Psycho.
Yeah.
Like if you like American Psycho, you'll probably like this movie. But this movie actually, and I love American Psycho, but I actually think this movie's a little bit deeper. Maybe not better, because American Psycho is like perfect pretty much. But I think that it is a little bit deeper, and it has more to say actually than American Psycho.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, there's probably more layers to this movie than American Psycho.
Now I just kind of want a Christian Bale remake of Dead Ringers to see what he would do as two twins. Think you can pull that off?
No, but did you see in your research? Did you see they're going to make a TV show?
Oh, are they?
Yeah, an Amazon one with Raquel. No,
About Dead Ringers?
the girl from
Or about
The
American
Mummy.
Psycho?
No, Dead Ringers.
You're serious?
Yeah, she's going to play.
What would that even be?
She's going to play Jeremy Irons' character, but instead it's like about...
Gender swapped?
Yeah, it's gender swapped, but I think it's also set more in the modern times and about the challenges that women face. And
Is she
Oh
gonna,
no, that
is,
sounds terrible.
is she going to be a dick and ball doctor? If
Are
we're gonna,
there? I think
we're going to
those are-
swap it.
I think those are just doctors.
No,
No,
there's
it'd be like a urologist.
Oh, urologist, yeah.
I'm pretty sure the correct term is dick and ball doctor.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, okay.
I don't like any of what you just said, by the way.
I know, yeah, no, that makes me sad.
Well,
Don't watch that, everyone.
I didn't fund it. It's not coming out of
I
my
hope it
pocket.
gets canceled.
Also, this could have been, years ago and it never happened. If Mark didn't find it in his in-depth studies, so.
To be fair, I forgot to do that part of the research.
Oh, okay.
I did all the other stuff.
Well, if I made it up, well, you heard it here first.
And only here.
Yeah, I did make it up. I don't remember where I saw it, though.
Well, this one kicks off in 1954. We see a pair of twins walking down the 50s, the literal 50s, and they're probably playing jacks, if I remember correctly. The bouncing the ball.
They playing jacks in the
Just whatever. What else is associated with the 50s? Drinking a pop.
Hold on. Some late breaking news. I totally didn't edit Wikipedia. It is on Wikipedia. And there has been an update as of August 2nd, 2021. So Poppy
Well, that means there's still hope
Lou
that it got canceled.
was cast in the main role.
That's on Wikipedia. They're never wrong.
No.
It's
they're
always
not.
true.
So Amazon, you heard it though. From a super fan, cancel this shit.
So back to the 50s. They're playing their records. They're listening to Elvis, and they're walking down the street.
There was no Elvis in the 50s. Wasn't he a 60s guy? Late 50s, maybe. Not in this era.
Okay,
No.
we're gonna get hung up here on the details.
No. I concede. I concede. You're right, Mark. Let's just move forward. So they're doing twin shit, and the guy's like, "Hey, do you know?" One of the twins is like, "Do you know why we have sex?" And the other twin's like, "No," and he goes, "Because we don't live in the water." And I was like, "Where are these two kids going with this? This is some interesting kid logic." But turns out, seems sound. In the water, fish just sort of shit out their eggs, and other fish put out their semen, and the currents do the rest. But since we don't live in the water, we don't have that same opportunity. So we got to have sex. The other kid's like, you know what? That sounds exactly right to me. Because they're twins, they're on the same page. Mark's still Googling Elvis, even though I conceded the point.
Heartbreak Hotel was number one in 1956.
Late 50s.
Mid. Continue.
So then they go to this other girl who's other girl. It's not another girl. It's a girl
Just chilling on the steps.
Yeah, playing jacks, listening to Elvis. Probably Leave It to Beavers on in the background. And they're like, hey.
Will you have sex with us in our bathtub? It's an experiment. Are you kidding? Fuck off, you freaks. I'm telling my father you talk dirty. Besides, I know for a fact you don't even know what fuck is.
It's for an experiment, they say.
You know?
What are they trying to do? What is their theory? What is their, what's your proposal? I wanted to see them break down the experiment,
Right.
like it's a science fair project or something.
You know what? Worse lines have probably been tried on women. And do you want to have sex for an experiment?
But they genuinely are doing an experiment. This isn't like some weird child pickup line, right? You know what I mean? This seems like they legitimately have something in their brain that they want to test after a hypothesis was formed. So what is it?
Well, they're talking about how fish.
Maybe they're going to try and impregnate her.
Yeah.
Like ejaculating into the bathtub.
Oh, in the
See
water,
if
yeah.
it works.
Regardless of how they got there, they get resoundingly shut down, as they should.
Yeah, she swears like a sailor at him.
I think she had every right to be a little bit offended, though.
Oh, absolutely. We're not defending this by any means. It was weird. And I was like, what are they doing? Like,
Who's that like really edgy comic, Lenny Bruce, right? Maybe she was a fan. Her dad, big fan, played his records, and that's where she learned all
had the
this.
LPs of old Lenny.
Yeah,
That's
Elvis
the
and
only
Lenny.
thing that's the only records he has in his collection.
That's it. So then this is where it just cuts to them in college now.
Right.
Yeah, I don't really like those cuts. I think that was a little bit
I agree.
forced feeling. Like they could have done the background info a little bit better.
Like a montage of them growing up doing weird shit.
It did show them playing with like anatomical like dolls though, remember?
true.
And so it
Yeah.
did show that they were actually already into anatomy and wanted to be doctors and they were pretending to do surgery.
Not that this movie needs to be any longer because it's already almost 2 hours long, but I'm kind of interested in what their parents were like.
Right?
You know?
Gynecologist.
Had to have been.
Yeah.
Lifelong.
Hereditary.
Look, sons, you just put the leeches on the woman, then she's all better. That's how they did it back in the 50s.
That's I
before
see.
Elvis.
Yeah, before Elvis taught the world about gynecology.
Thank you for your service, Elvis. So then it's the 60s, and they're in class, and they're using some sort of weird forcep contraption.
A retractor.
Retractor, thank you. I don't know any of these tools. But they're using
You're not
it.
a surgery expert like me, apparently.
No. My entire medical knowledge comes from the game of Operation.
Oh, no.
All I know is just don't touch the sides of
Yeah.
the body or you get shocked.
I assume that's pretty much all you need to know.
That's how it really works. When
Yeah.
they cut you
Yes.
open.
That's when the doctors know they're fucking up. Oh, shit, I was just trying to get the appendix.
That's what
Took out his
takes-
ribs.
That's what takes so long in medical school, mastering that game.
Yeah. So the teacher or whoever he is comes up. He's like, you can't use that on a real live person, right? You're using it on a cadaver, and they're just like, whatever.
Well, they had it made special, is what it was.
So they were already making their special tools
yeah,
back
they're
then.
like, we had this made for this, and he's like, oh, you can't use this.
You don't even have leeches. What are you doing here?
And then it cuts to them getting an award.
For that same thing.
Yeah.
But then I was so confused because they called them undergraduates, but they seem to be in medical school. And I've never heard of undergraduates getting to work on a cadaver, like a human cadaver.
You would know more than us
maybe,
on this.
I don't know, maybe they do,
It
but
was the 60s. There were no rules.
maybe that's true.
They weren't even
I was
students at that school. They just walked in with a jacket.
This was pre-Reagan, so anything went.
It was the Wild West.
Yeah.
So
Post Elvis, the world was a mess.
before Elvis taught us about schools. But yeah, I mean, they did win an award very young.
Well, they even
Yeah.
said on stage, they're like, the twins are already bringing in revenue or something to that effect. I'm like, wow.
They were saying it was like now the gold standard that they were using in surgery.
Yeah.
It was this retractor that they made. And so, yeah, they're like, it's showing that they're prodigies, right? Like they're medical prodigies. They already, like, they're trusted to invent their own stuff after that and do things their own weird way. And I think that's the setup for their weird clinic.
And it's where you first sort of see their dynamic, right? Because Elliot goes to they get a golden copy of their retractor. And he's like, he gives his little speech about how great they are. And he's like, yeah, I am the best. Thank you.
The other one wasn't present, right?
Right. So then
Yeah.
he brings it back and we see that Bev had been like studying or whatever. And he's like, oh, you missed out on getting this. And he was like, no, I was there. And I was like, oh, okay. Magic.
Right.
Twin magic.
No. So, yes, this is where I start looking for that otherworldly tie-in that I thought Cronenberg was going to bring to this storyline, I was like, oh, they have some sort of psychic bond.
Yes.
So when one is out experiencing, the other one gets it too, and there's going to be some weird play like that.
Nope. Just regular twin magic. Nothing too crazy.
Well, but I think it does play into the fact that I think in the end you're supposed to think that they're more than twins. It's really supposed to be like one person split.
Yeah. Could be the seeds. They're starting to plant those, right? So he gives them his golden award, and he's like, "Oh, they put the pin in backwards."
Yeah, that's all he cares about.
Yeah.
He's not like super overjoyed. He's more like, "Oh, they fucked it up."
So you start to see their like split in personality, at this early age or whatever. And then it cuts again, and now they're doctors in like the Total Recall clinic.
Now this is the plan. Get your ass to Moss.
Let's see, I think it's like 1988, right? It's present time. They've opened their own practice. We're seeing the personalities of the two twins more in depth now, right? Bev is more reserved. Elliot is more outgoing. The first patient...
We meet him with, he's working on
Claire.
and he's, I think it's Elliot first, right?
So this was confusing to me. I had not yet gotten my bearings on which is which. So who met the actress first? Was Bev?
It's Bev, because he's like, also remember, he's kind of like, who cares that it's Claire, whatever. Like, she has this crazy cervix, like.
Yeah, it's just
But
3.
Elliot's the one that's like, you mean the famous actress? Because Bev goes in to get him and be like, you gotta go feel this. It's really crazy. She has 3 cervixes.
Seems
right.
like a lot.
Yeah.
I think 0 is the appropriate amount for us.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Dr. John. So Bev meets this he's actually...
He's really fascinated.
That's what I was going for. He's really fascinated by this woman, and he doesn't really care about her being famous. And I think that might draw Claire to him, is that he's not like starry-eyed by seeing an actress, and he's just interested in her.
Although it's Elliot that ends up picking her up first, because he goes in there and then he starts flirting with her.
Right.
And then we find out that they hooked up.
And then they reveal that they've been doing this very disgusting practice of trading women and pretending to be the same individual.
I know, it's crazy.
So gross.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like, it's sexual assault. You can't trick someone into having sex. That's fucked up.
And this clearly is not the first time this has happened for them.
No, they say that they always do it, right? That you haven't had sex with someone unless I've also had sex with them. And that's like, they say that later. And it's like, ew,
yeah, you would still
that's
be a
weird.
virgin if it wasn't for me sharing the women around. It's like, oh no, this is bad. And my wife made a point. She's like, I kind of wish they would have shown how this particular disgusting pickup method went down, and it was different from the other times. Like, she wanted to see one normal go through and then see how, like, hey, Bev met this one first, because now he's acting all weird, and later on he's like, I don't want to share with you. This moment was for me alone, stuff like that.
I think
that's just his connection with her,
Yeah.
though. You fall in love with somebody, like, it's not necessarily because of anything in particular. Like, I think that in the past, he'd always just, Elliot picked him up, and then he also hooked up with them, and then they were just like, well, that's it. That's that conquest.
So the only difference is that he fell in love this time.
Yes.
Okay.
And he says that because in like later in the movie, he's like, in the past, this never bothered me. Didn't care at all. And she's like, this time it does. It was more subtle than that, but that's generally the dialogue he's given out. So.
Okay. So
Also, I just have to say, I love the part where he says that beauty contests should be for the inside bodies too.
Perfect liver.
And I thought that was really like Crimes of the Future too. And I was like, I wonder if they're going to see that why I thought they were connected. Like,
yeah, you can see that throughput, right? And then now he's slicing people over and tattooing body parts in 2022.
but also weirdly, that line that Elliot says is kind of what gets Claire like interested. That's like his flirting, because she's like, really, you think that I'm beautiful on the inside? And I'm like, that's really weird. That wouldn't work on me.
Wouldn't the whole concept of being flirted with at the gynecologist just be weird?
Yeah,
Doesn't
no,
it
that's
seem like
whoa, yeah.
like a place where anyone would go to get picked up.
He's really into my liver. I
Yeah.
like this guy.
Also, you're not going to have any kids. Hey, do you want to go out sometime? Maybe like.
Well, and then she's like at a dinner with her agent or someone, and then he's there too, and I'm not sure how that happened, but then he's like, let's talk about your periods, and then the agent's like, oh my god, periods, and he gets all freaked out and he leaves.
It's very 80s,
and that's
so.
whenever Elliot's basically like, all right, let's see
Now
that
we're
cervix.
alone. Yeah.
Right, now that we got rid of him, huh?
I mean, but that's not proper dinner etiquette.
I would agree.
No, I
You don't
agree.
go to a fancy
but
restaurant
it
and
was
be like,
funny
3
though.
cervixes, eh?
So if you had a
No,
lot
I
of
agree. It
trouble-
was a weird thing to talk about
Yeah.
at dinner, but
Hey,
it was
waiter,
also
get
just
a load of
comedy.
this.
Yeah, it was pre-HIPAA though. They could talk about people's medical history, no problem.
You're right.
No rules back then.
That's true.
Elvis hadn't passed HIPAA yet, so you could just do whatever.
For me, this first 40 minutes is kind of a slog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a little bit of a workup to get going. I think they're really trying to get you to know the characters.
But it's important, I guess, because you'll be able to tell these two people apart. So
Right.
they probably just want you to spend a lot of time with them. I don't know that it helped me that much, but I'm bad at this kind of shit.
It is a slow start, but I don't mind slow movies, so maybe that's why it didn't bother me. Like,
Yeah, I just felt like by the time the movie wrapped, like, did it matter that Claire was like, she wanted to get pregnant, but then like that's thrown out the window, and then they're like, well, I was promiscuous.
I
and,
think
like,
that
all these
does
details.
matter
It does?
because I think that, like, for instance, it goes into that whole like duality of feminine and masculine is like Bev versus Claire. Like in the traditional way, Claire she's the one that's kind of the instigator of sex, and she's more promiscuous, whereas Bev would have been a virgin if it wasn't for Elliot, which is gross and everything. But like, he's very shy, he's very clinical about everything, and she is the aggressor when it comes to sex with him, which is why I really think she should have noticed right away that like he wasn't like, yeah, let's go. She had to be like, let's go.
You're right.
And like that
That makes sense.
and it gives a lot of depth to her as a character, because I think that she could easily be seen as like a bad guy because you'd only see really Elliot's side. But instead, because you get to know her and she is being vulnerable, and it also shows like she's so vulnerable with them that like she is also, more hurt than it wasn't just hooking up. Like she also was being open and falling in love. Mm-hmm. And like her talking about like, how hard it is for her. And because like Elliot's very like, oh, it's another actress who thinks that her life is not complete without kids, but she's being open about how she really always wanted this, and she's been taking hormone injections, and she's seen lots of doctors, and she'd been holding out hope, and so it hurt her really bad to find out that no, it's never going to happen. And I think it also shows you like, as a woman, I noticed that like then she right away jumped into like having sex with him, and I think that's her coping mechanism, is that she is super hurt because he's like, you want to talk about this now? And she's like, yeah, you said the test results were going to be back. And so he's like, no, you'll never have a child. Like, it just won't happen.
Was that post-sex, though, right?
No.
Oh.
And then she was like,
Okay.
she's all upset. And then she all of a sudden is basically like, let's go, and starts kissing on him and everything. And I think it's showing a little bit about who she is, and that she's not just like, because I think Elliot tries to paint her as like she's just kind of a bipolar actress, but she's not. No. She's a more complex person. And that's what Bev sees. And that's what we are supposed to see as the audience, instead of just seeing Elliot's side. Whereas if we didn't get all that time with Claire, I don't think that we would see it, and we would right away be kind of anti-Claire. But I think that as the audience, you're supposed to feel torn because you see Elliot's side and Claire's side when they're kind of fighting over Bev.
Okay. See,
Claire has my favorite line in the movie. She says she never even had contraceptive thoughts.
that was a really good line.
I do love it when he's like, there's other reasons to use contraceptives too.
No, she never even had thoughts. Okay, so, but it's also like an interesting kind of time capsule of, I guess, femininity, to your point, where like, yeah, and she's like, look, if I don't have a kid, I fail as a woman. I'm just not a complete woman without a kid. I know some people still think that way, but like nowadays it feels like that is much less of a pressure like on people and women.
No, definitely, right. The women are expected to be mothers, right?
Yeah.
That's like all they for the longest time, that was your goal. That was your aspiration as a woman. And you can correct me if I'm wrong at all, because I'm often am, and I talk out my ass sometimes.
Men.
So I am a man.
I would say that, yeah, that's part, like when she has that little soliloquy about like how she will never be a woman, she'll always be a girl. That is really not about that being correct as much as showing her psychology and like, why is she want this? Like she wants to mature in her life. I think she feels kind of stuck. And like, I think we see that with her, is that's why she does use sex and drugs to kind of like help her cope with her. She seems to have issues with depression, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And, that she tries to cover it up, and she has to keep being, this actress that, has it all, but really she doesn't. And she's being very open about that whenever she's like, for me, this is how I feel.
That's interesting. Yeah. It's the societal expectations and coping with that.
Or just her personal expectations also, like, is that, maybe, I mean, I agree back then it was much more like you have to have a baby. And so there was that pressure on her. But like she also, I think that it was showing that she wasn't just another actress that was like, I need to have a kid because I'm supposed to have a kid. That I thought it was more that she was trying to show like, she's like, I'm not happy with my life. I thought that this would maybe fix it. And that's not a good way to go about having a kid. But it's showing us something about her is that it's not just like for publicity or for standards. Like it's because she's like unhappy. And then Bev gives her happiness. Whenever they do have sex, like that he uses that medical tubing and the clamps as bondage gear. I thought that was really creative.
and that would have been probably Elliot, right?
No, that's Bev.
That's Bev.
Yeah, and that's like whenever they have sex after she's like, I'm never going to have a baby.
Yeah.
And then that's whenever he comes home and Elliot's like, well, tell me all about it. And Bev's like, no, I'm going to keep this one to myself. That they always share the details.
Right. And yeah, Elliot's all Frodo like, okay, then keep your secrets.
Yeah.
But also in their professional life, Elliot's been given a job opportunity to teach at a hospital. So Elliot's going to kind of move out of the practice a little bit, and Bev is starting to feel the pressure of having to take on more patients. He's like, wait a minute, we're a team here. You get Elliot, you get the Bev. That's how this works,
Yeah. It's always painful when a tag team breaks up.
Yeah, it always is.
Bev has to do all of the research. And so Elliot turns it into the papers and presents on them. And so even though that is what he's good at is the behind the scenes, I think that he brings it up a couple times in the movie that he does seem to feel a little bit like he has the brunt of the work on him. And that's not fair. And maybe there's a resentment building up between them.
See some cracks in the bond. But it must be said that public speaking and stuff is its own stress.
That's true.
Like, I think Bev doesn't understand that, but it's a lot of work to get up in front of people, put your voice out there.
I like public speaking.
Really?
Yeah.
I hated it.
I like to have people pay attention to me.
I want the attention. I was like the opposite, like, don't look at me.
Yeah, now you have a podcast.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, what?
No one sees me. They just hear my voice.
But everyone's going to hear it.
No one listens to us.
That's just what I tell myself. That's why I never look at our numbers. I'm like, it's audience of what? Now I just think, okay, I know Emma listens. And
we're doing the show for
my
you.
sister.
Yeah. Okay, audience of two. That's already getting too many.
See, I think this makes me more nervous because it's like going to keep existing. And so if I say something stupid, people can listen to it over and over again. But normally when you're public speaking, nobody's recording you. And so if you make like a terrible joke, like everyone just groans.
I've cut out all of John's racist comments over the years. Like that just gets thrown right out.
So I've been turning it up, but he's so good at it. I cannot get any through.
So where are we at now?
Well, they are wearing those crazy red surgical outfits. I just want to say that was so crazy and weird and very Cronenberg.
Yeah. I was like, do they literally wear this stuff in hospitals?
No.
Describe the outfit.
It is like a red, almost like
robe,
tunic or something. Yeah, with like there's like a cloak kind of over it, and it's got like a turtleneck type neck, and there's like a veil type thing that they wear. It's just very absurd, and it's bright blood red. And then they wear like skin colored gloves that I was at first like, oh my God, are their hands exposed? And I'm like, oh wait, no, they're wearing gloves.
That was very otherworldly. Again, that was kind of piquing my interest. Like, oh, we're going somewhere, but it's not. It's just a taste, a little hint. Like, this is a Cronenberg film. Don't forget.
It's got like sprinkles of Cronenberg.
Yeah, just sprinkles of Cronen.
Like on top of vanilla.
I think it does show that they're very eccentric. I wouldn't be surprised if the twins invented that outfit as like part of their thing because they are known to have these like outlandish, ways, and that they're very known as like, cutting edge and everything. Just like whenever they have that door that opens in between the two rooms, and it's like, I was like, why and what?
Are they using their own tools at this point? Like they built?
And he's talking about like their fallopian tube surgery that they invented, where they can take other parts of the body to recraft it. And I guess is like a really thing that only they can do. That's what makes them so exceptional.
Oh, I just wanted to say this quote is that Ellie says, to achieve anything in life, you have to keep life simple. And I think that really actually was important for Ellie and that I hadn't noticed in previous watchings that he said that, because I think that goes to show why is it so upsetting whenever Bev falls in love and things get complicated, because their life has always been very simple and selfish also.
Yeah, Elliot is very like, we've got a path. This is the path. We don't deviate. The playbook is already there.
And all that matters is them. So then it goes to Claire and how she takes amphetamines.
So her coping mechanisms with the drugs is starting to bleed into Bev, right? They're dating each other. She starts giving him
She
stuff
takes
to calm
uppers,
down.
she takes downers, she takes sleeping meds. Although Ellie says she's drug seeking, but I don't think that's, because he tries to say that's the only reason why she likes them. But I don't think that's true, because she kind of already had a bunch of drugs. And like she said, when you're an actress, people are friendly or doctors are friendly. And so I think that he just is trying to write her off,
Yeah.
you know?
And she's
split them up, right?
Yeah.
To like create distance between Bev and her.
Yeah, Claire is not actively seeking prescriptions from him. He's the one that goes, "Let me be your pill guy," and he starts
then
writing
he
the
starts
prescriptions.
stealing her meds.
Yeah. And there's scenes where he comes over, he's like, "I need something." She's like, "I don't have anything," and he writes her a
Oh, that's
prescription.
like way later.
I know, but it's like when the descent is fully on. You know, he's like, "Go get these pills for me." Yeah, it's like crazy how they end
They
up
don't
there.
teach you that in Dare.
I also I couldn't believe it whenever she made fun of Beverly's name though. Like, because at that point, that's the only time where I was like, every time I watch it, I'm like, I really think she does care about him, but why is she like prodding him and trying to hurt him right then? Like, you know, like why is she making fun of his name?
I don't know if she knew she was doing it. I think it was more maybe like a playful, like, "Why is your name Beverly? That's a girl's name."
She doesn't say it like that.
That's true. She is pretty aggressive about it.
Yeah.
She's pretty mean about it.
Maybe it doesn't fit into her clear-cut black and white male female world, you know, and so she's reacting to the fact that this person that she likes sort of has this off name.
It's when she's also talking about how she doesn't know that he had a brother.
She doesn't know that they're twins yet. He's like, "Oh, I'm not close to my brother."
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like, oh, I was
why did he lie like
I know.
that? There's no need.
You thought this was a good idea, that there was no way.
Especially when it turns out everyone else knows about them being
except
like
her.
twins and they're famous and stuff, and he just
Yeah,
thought she
it's
wouldn't
like-
know.
It's like finding out Mary Kate has an Ashley Olsen, and you're like, "Wait a minute! If they're that prominent in the medical world, you think you would know." Especially if she's been to so many gynecologists.
Yeah.
You know,
she
she's-
got referred to them like
The Mantle twins, like
there's
Doctor.
no way it wasn't.
They were able to keep that third Olsen, Wanda. She was a secret for a long time, and she burst out.
She's not a twin, though.
That's true. She's
She's
not
just
one of the
the
twins.
younger sister. But
That's fair.
I like where you're going with that. Secret Olsen. Hello.
That's was to me. I was like, "Oh shit, there's a third."
Yeah.
Okay, it was like Star Wars, you know. There's another.
Uncle Joey in a Jedi robe. Oh. Cut it out. There's a third. So, right. So there's like almost like a Freudian slip or something, letting her I don't think Bev wanted to reveal that there was a brother.
Yeah.
Right? But he's so close to him, it just kind of comes out. She's like, "Oh, you got a brother, do you?"
How did she go
Oh,
to the
yeah.
clinic called the the twins and not know
It's not called the twins.
twins gynecologist is what I assume it's
It just
called.
says the Doctor Twins on the door.
2 for 1, you know.
Yeah, you're right. I think we just found a issue with the
that is-
movie.
But maybe it's supposed to show that she is so wrapped up in herself and her own career and stuff that she just kind of goes wherever people recommend her, and she didn't even know where the hell she was. You
She's
know,
like,
she
Yeah.
just add another doctor. You know,
I was blitzed out of my mind, so
maybe she was.
didn't know if I was coming or going. Okay.
She was hammered on barbiturates,
Yeah.
gumming off the set of Magnum PI, and then just went straight to the doctor's office from a taxi. And she didn't even look it up in the yellow pages or anything.
Yeah, it was like just some Hunter S. Thompson shit, you know. Halfway to the clinic when the drugs hit.
Went through Bat Country.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like a luncheon, right? Out of some
Yeah.
fancy restaurant, and this kind of proper old lady is like sitting there talking to her, and she's taking such joy almost, and like,
Oh, yeah, she's a bitch.
you didn't know that they were twins? You seem really rattled right now, Claire. What was it that I said? Which word was it? And like just salivating at what's going on. I was like, this is interesting.
Maybe
like,
she's wants roles that Claire gets. you know? And she's like, oh, I could take her down with twins.
I know what it is.
Yeah.
Claire replaced her. She started getting all the roles when she got too old.
That's it. You also, I don't even think she was that old. She's like 40.
She really wasn't.
Like
You said old lady,
She's
and
like
I'm
80.
like, she wasn't
She's
that
one of the
old.
Golden Girls, literally. No, it's probably that thing in the 80s where everybody looked older than
That is
they
true.
are.
Yeah.
You know?
Everyone.
Because I also thought that about Claire. I was like, how old is Claire?
I could not tell you.
Couldn't peg an age.
I think she's probably supposed to be like late 30s. That would make sense that your like fertility window is closing. If you're going to have a baby, it's now or never. And a lot of their patients seem to be in that age bracket.
Okay.
Because they're gynecologists, but they're specializing in fertility treatments. And so that would make sense that they're going to see like, you know, younger middle-aged women.
Yeah, that makes sense. And there was also that scene, too, that was interesting where Claire is on site for one of the roles she's doing, and she gets really upset with the costume designer for making her look like a hooker. And I was like,
that was showing her just being like such a bitch.
yeah, there's no hidden meaning to that. I was like, oh, maybe she doesn't want to be seen like that anymore. Or
being a diva.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, because she's like supposed to be some kind of huge actress, right?
I didn't get that. I got like television actress.
She's in a mini series, right? So it's a career on decline in the 80s.
Miniseries were big in the 80s.
No, I think they're bigger now. Like, oh shit, you're like on a Stranger Things. Back then, it's like, oh, you're doing like a CBS 6-episode thing. That's
Yeah.
you're on the decline.
Maybe that is it. I mean, like, maybe that's part of why she wants to have a baby, because she feels like her career is ending. This is a good time for her to have a baby,
Mark's
move on to
calling her.
another part of her life.
Yeah, Mark's like, look at this older actress. Like,
I know.
What are you, 90? You can't even have a kid.
yeah, that's true. So extra pressure. I think you're right. Career's ending. Time to have a baby. Like a good TV show, you know, when the ratings start to dip, you
Right,
add in
a
a baby. It never goes wrong. So
They introduced a new kid in Growing Pains.
Yeah.
Whenever Michael Seaver got too old.
Show me that smile again.
Oh my God, I remember that. It was terrible.
Didn't they put a new? Literally, they put a new pair of twins in Full House when Ashley Olsen and Mary Kay got too old.
twins too.
It was the Jesse twins. I remember that now.
Oh, yeah,
That was a
ugh.
big thing. Everyone had you had babies constantly. So
TGIF.
So then she goes and meets both of them, and she right away knows what's up at that lunch. Like,
But she doesn't. She knows she's been having sex with both of them.
yeah.
she sees right through their
Oh
bullshit.
yeah. Well, because I think she, like she says, whenever you've been intimate with twins, don't you think you could tell them apart? And that's her being like, hint, hint, I know, you know, and they're like, oh, I don't know, basically. And she's like, okay, well, I know that you guys have both been fucking me.
Did the scene come before or after the reveal where she's like, sometimes you're like another person? You know, you remember that whole scene where she's like talking to him? I think that was before
I think
the
that was
reveal.
before. I think she knew. I think that's the thing, is that when she found out that they were twins, she realized like, oh, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because that's why, because she said you seem schizophrenic, which is really the wrong term, because it's really more like multiple personalities. Yeah. But like, she was saying like, you seem like two different people, you know, and then as soon as she realized that they're identical twins, she's like, oh, because they are two different people.
Well, see, what happened is that Bev is getting too involved with the Mark. Right? For the con, he's getting too involved, and now they can.
And he fell in love.
The Mark can see the different personalities.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Ellie was like, we got to get in, we got to get out. That's how this con
Yeah.
works, and you're blowing it, Bev.
Elliot's like, we don't love them hoes. And Bev's like, I do. I do.
No, that's a good point, because even if their personalities weren't different, you would feel different with a person that you're in, like, who's in love with you, than someone who is just like having fun with you. And so whenever they're seeing her, you know, like, she would be able to realize there's a difference.
From her
Right.
perspective, he must be like so hot and cold. Like,
Well, no, yeah.
like,
even-
oh, you know, you're like in love with you, and then the next day, like, just why don't you keep your distance there, buddy?
Even Claire says the line of something to the effect of, sometimes you're a lousy lay, and then sometimes you're awesome.
No, she actually says sometimes you're just a good lay. And
Okay.
sometimes you're like more than that.
Okay.
And so she's like, so they're
think
both
she should
good
have
in
said
bed.
lousy lay. That would have been better.
Yeah, that's what tore them apart. That's the downgrade. The rest of the movie is them figuring out which one was the good lay and which one's the more than that.
Look, some used the medical tubing, the other one didn't. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
that's
the
true.
difference.
Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't.
So they go out to dinner and they're like, okay, we got to play this off. You know, Elliot's just like, this is going to be fun. You know, he's got that attitude of like, this is great.
Well, I think he wants it to be over because he knows that Bev is falling in love with her. And so he's kind of like, yeah, let's meet her and let's have her get pissed at us.
He knows it's going to be a disaster, but he wants it to be so that they can continue on the life that he has planned for the team.
Yeah, like, let's just get this Claire over with and then we'll move on.
So which one of them is the name that they were both going under? Was it Bev? Right. It was Beverly, right? Mm-hmm. So Elliot has to pretend, hey, look at me. Nice to meet you. Yeah. And then she immediately just goes right through the ruse. She's like, let's not fuck around.
Yeah.
You both were screwing me.
She's like, look, I thought I seen it all in the movie business, but you two.
Yeah. I've been involved in some gross shit, but this is the worst.
Yeah. This is Hollywood in the 80s, and somehow you surpassed that.
Yeah. What are you on, crack cocaine right now?
As a matter of fact.
Yeah. And Elliot's just having a good time with it. He's like, yep, figured us out, whatever.
Got us. Like, dude, that's like a crime. That is a crime that you committed.
And Bev's over there just like, oh no, this is terrible. Yeah. And then she throws water in Bev's face and is like, does she say it? It's some of the effect that I never want to see you again.
Yeah.
More or less, right?
Yeah.
She walks off and Elliot's like, good.
Mission accomplished.
Done and done.
He's like, do you want me to go talk to her? Like, I don't think anything you have to say would help the situation.
But he's clearly broke and he's like, no, let her go. You know, and the days following, he's just a mess. He can't get himself back together.
And then he gets so drunk at that award show. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that's the cringiest thing.
He's stumbling through the hall of this hotel down to the banquet hall where they're having another award ceremony. Look, he made another clamp thingy. Here's your golden clamp number 3 or whatever's going on.
Look, don't you dismiss the golden clamp. That is the highest award in gynecology. So
it really is. Sorry.
He's a triple clamper.
It's hard to grasp the triple clamp.
Yeah, it's rare. All right. It's like the ERCOT of gynecology.
So, yeah, Bev is just stumbling through. He goes and sits in the back. Elliot's up there giving a nice speech about everything and how, the both of them have worked really hard to get to where they're at. And he's like, I'm back here.
Yeah, no, he's like, too bad basically Bev can't be here. And he's like, I'm here. And he like stands up all drunk and he goes up there.
Yeah, he's like, I just got a couple things to say really quick.
And if a drunk person tells you, I just got a couple of things to say.
Yeah, no, don't let them say it.
Nothing good's happening.
Yeah, when Elliot lets him start talking, I'm like, no. Like,
cut the
I thought you
mic.
knew your brother. Like, yeah.
Yeah, he clearly is in a bad spot. He basically gives up the ruse.
He's like,
doesn't he?
We are tricking all of y'all. Like, I do all the work. Elliot is the face of this operation. Also, we tag team women, but they don't even know it. We're just terrible people. And Elliot's like, he's had too much to drink. Can you believe it?
The things he says when he's drunk, huh, ladies and gentlemen?
And they all just clap for him like, oh, that's so funny.
Honestly, like Elliot dealing with it like that is kind of impressive. It shows his extroversion, though, that he's able to like, be a chameleon, go with it and be like, oh, look at Bev's just drunk because I would have just died.
Yeah, he really jujitsu'd that. He's like, we've all been there, right? Like, no, I don't think so.
No.
But, okay.
Who hasn't tricked women? Am I right? But yeah, then he falls over and then Bev gets escorted out.
Yeah. Beverly goes to see Claire and she's like, tell me how sorry you are and how much you missed me.
Pretty much, admits like, you're different than all the others. Basically, I'm falling in love with you.
And then she takes him back.
Yep.
Yeah, because I think she really missed him too.
Yeah, she is also falling for him.
Yeah, but could you overcome that betrayal? That seems like a lot.
I mean, for Jeremy Irons.
Okay, I guess so.
Either version.
2 Jeremy Irons,
Whoa.
I would have been down.
But yeah, he admits to her, like, yeah, it never bothered me before our con game until you. That means he loves me. Yeah. Oh, the words he uses. I am smitten immediately. It's so like, come on, lady.
Well, she is a very damaged, person. She's also dealing with a lot. She's depressed and she is apparently, infertile. I mean, I could see it. She's in a desperate spot and then he's in love with her and
a rich doctor and
special and
I don't think that. I mean, she's probably has plenty of her own money.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So, but
prominence. How about that?
She's more famous than him.
Married for prominence.
Yeah,
a little bit lower than an actor.
Well, she's like, I bring out basic decency in you. Well, that's all I need.
And then they start doing pills, and Bev starts losing time. Right? He's waking up, and she's like, "No, it's like Sunday." And he's like, "Oh, you got to go to the office." What?
Yeah.
No, and
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah. Call in and tell them I'm not going to make it for my first like 3 patients.
Yeah.
And he starts, becoming really pill dependent. And that's whenever he has that dream.
a very Cronenberg moment. The dream is that both of the brothers are lying in bed. One of them is having relations with Claire, or they're making out,
Yeah.
and the other one is behind the other. And
Sort of watching.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't want him to watch us.
And so they turn, and the camera pans down, and they're connected by this, not like a skin flap. It's a bit more than that. It's this tube, like almost like an umbilical,
Yeah.
thick
Well,
umbilical
They've grown
cord.
together.
I actually think that it's supposed to be like the most famous original Siamese quote unquote twins that they talk about later is that they were actually only connected through like their liver or something. That was just like this one thing between them. They weren't like fused like very closely. It was like there was like a weird appendage thing between them. And
Okay.
so that comes up so much. I think that it was supposed to be like those conjoined twins.
Okay. So, yeah. And then Claire just comes in. It's Claire, right? Mm-hmm. She comes in and starts gnawing and chewing at the,
It's so gross.
the fleshy connection and tears out, I guess, almost like a liver, right? It's like a big red,
Yeah.
disgusting piece of meat.
And the sound, like the Foley sound effect work is just so good. Ugh,
It's all like
really gross.
pulsing and everything, veiny. And
Very good work on that.
can you imagine? Like, here, I'll separate you guys.
Nah.
For Jeremy Irons, apparently.
That's where I draw the line.
Yeah. I will not separate the two Siamese irons. And then he bursts awake in terror. I'd be scared, right?
Yeah.
But definitely showing that this is happening in real life to the twins. They're starting to get separated.
Yeah, he's
by
feeling
Claire.
it. Yeah.
And at the same time, then we see a scene of Elliot calling in 2 hookers.
Yeah, and they're identical twins.
Yeah.
And he's like, so I can tell you guys apart. I want one of you to call me Bev and one of you to call me Elliot.
That's weird.
That's so
Very.
weird.
I was like, what is going on here?
I think he's missing their little con game.
Yeah.
I think the trickery was part of like what he enjoyed about
I
it.
don't.
maybe.
I don't think it's the con of it. I think that he has this closeness with him, and he's missing
yeah.
like that twin thing, and he's feeling like
Okay.
he doesn't have it because
Yeah,
Bev
that makes more
has
sense.
his own stuff going on. You know, his relationship with Claire is private. He doesn't tell him about their sex, about their relationships, about anything. You know, like, and so Elliot is kind of lonely in a way. Like, you know, he's missing his brother. Like, he doesn't have that other half of him.
Yeah, they don't show them having like other friends or like
Yeah.
lives outside of each other until Claire. So that does make sense.
Like a separation anxiety of some kind,
Big
maybe?
time. Huge separation anxiety. Yeah.
Bev starts having withdrawals, and it starts affecting everything he does. Like, you see scenes of him shaking, and he's trying to do operations and stuff, and it's
Yeah.
just like, whatever.
Imagine how.
I don't pretend to know anything about any sort of medical procedures, but there's like a blanket over a lady and what looks like a dipstick for oil.
Well, it's like a laparoscopic surgery. And so that's like where you do it with like cameras and through just tiny holes so
Yeah.
that you don't have to cut someone open and have as much exposed.
But the way he was
It causes
jamming
much
that
smaller
in,
scars.
that looked like he would have just mutilated that poor woman the way he was
I think
going.
that surgery's a lot rougher than you think
Is
it
it?
is.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
but it is
You gotta
scary
really
for him to
jab
be
it in there.
shaky. Like, I mean, that's pretty
Yeah.
technical stuff. Like, you don't want to fuck it up.
Yeah, definitely not. And then there's a scene of him like doing an exam on a woman using his clamp, right? And then he starts using it on her. She's clearly not having it. It's like, this hurts. He's like,
Yeah, as a woman seeing that tool that he's using, oh my God, that's terrifying. Like, she does not look like she's in enough pain, honestly.
Are these the tools he invents? Like these torture tools? Okay, these
well,
are
that
just
that was his like weird retractor that he made, but it was for
Not the second generation.
surgical retraction, not a gynecological exam.
Okay.
And so it's supposed to be like when you have someone open to like keep things apart versus putting it in like a speculum.
to
sounds
me,
terrible. That's what
To me, the closest reference points I had was going to a shoe store and they would measure my foot.
It
It's
does
like,
look
it
like
looks
that.
like a foot measuring thing.
Oh yeah! Oh my God, that terrible.
It's like, I don't want that jammed in
He's
me.
so mean to her too. Like
Right.
he's like, "You think this hurts? Oh, you know." And, that was
like-
whenever he says like, that she's been having sex with a dog.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, what are you talking about, dude?
Yeah, he starts saying women's bodies are all wrong. It's the tools that are
Isn't
perfect.
that after Claire leaves, though, right? Claire is left to go shoot a film.
Oh yeah, she goes to like
You're right.
Paris
And
or
that's
something.
because like he's really spiraling after she leaves.
You're right. So yeah, she's going to head off and go do a shoot, and she's going to be gone for like several months.
Yeah. Which is normal.
And he's clearly like, "Don't leave, I need you." And she's like, "I gotta go."
And he's way too dependent, because he's replaced Elliot with Claire. And so he's used to that kind of codependency.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Claire doesn't have that. Like, she's like, no, I'm a whole person,
This is a prime example of he just needs to learn how to be with himself. That's it.
Yeah,
he
he
needs to
really
have
can.
a relationship
Yeah.
with him right now. So
A little too clingy. I'm surprised
Yeah.
she didn't walk away from it, because I would have been like,
yeah,
dude,
that's
we're done here.
Stage 5 for sure.
The spiral continues, and he decides he's going to call Claire,
Yeah.
and he starts talking to her manager,
I think it's assistant.
I think it's like her
her assistant, and immediately goes to cheat.
He
He's
also seems like
cheating.
he's drunk or something. Though.
Yeah.
Because he was being really weird.
It's like, look, I'm a gynecologist and she's a mutant.
Yeah, like, put your fingers in and you'll feel all her services. Like, oh my God.
And the guy's face on the other end is pretty good. He's just like,
Yeah,
oh,
he's like, ew.
It turns out he's gay later, and that was pretty funny. He's like,
Yeah.
you just turned him completely gay
Yeah.
with that phone call.
Like when he doesn't hang up, but he like, I guess when he's done, a patient walks in and he's like just all
The way he's all crying.
curled
and,
up and crying on a chair. And the he's like, oh,
Hi, nice to meet you.
And as that patient, she should have turned around and walked out immediately.
I
He's
think she
like,
did. The look on her face was like, I don't want you anywhere near my vagina.
no, I don't even have one, and I felt the same.
Yeah, same.
Why didn't Beverly ever attempt to talk to Claire again during this descent? Because this is it. This is the kickoff of just the spiral down to the end of the film.
I think that he felt so betrayed that he was sure that that was another man. She also had said she had been promiscuous in the past. And, like, I don't know if they ever even talked about being, like, exclusive.
No, I don't think so. But I
so
feel
he just assumes that she's out there cheating with whoever, because she also said she was going to do that to try and get pregnant, And so he just completely writes her off at that point, because then he comes to Elliot. And remember, Elliot is basically like, you need me. And Bev is like, yeah, you're right. Like, I chose wrong. And that's why he doesn't try and reach out to her again, because I think he feels like he can only have one other person that he's like close to at a time. And so he picks one. And that's Elliot also tries to help him detox and tries to help him get out of his funk with his weird threesome suggestion thing where they're dancing. And
that was the weirdest part of the movie
Yeah.
for me. Yeah. I guess just to button that other part up, though, is like, as someone who would have been so in love with this person and you didn't ever speak to them personally about the situation and just assume and just go headfirst into the drugs and just assume what you thought was true without having that person say, yes, I cheated on you.
I actually think a lot of people would feel that way.
He's just not emotionally mature. It is effectively his first relationship.
Yeah.
So, think of like all the bumps and bruises maybe you made when you in middle school or whatever, and he's making them now at 35.
He was 40 in college, so he's at least 67 now. So
So like he's just learning how to have a relationship, and I don't think he's not doing it very successfully.
well, listeners, you come here for dating advice, and let me give you a little bit. Make sure to just communicate with the other person. This whole thing could have been avoided if they just talked it out.
Yeah, if you think they're cheating, make sure they tell you, I am cheating.
Yes. Get confirmation, preferably in writing.
Yeah. Counter advice: just never talk to the person you're married or dating to.
And do drugs.
Yeah.
One of these is good advice.
Yeah. I'll let you pick which one.
Right. So then Elliot is trying to get Bev back into a better state of mind. And he's like, listen, Bev is just like on the couch, crashed out, being a mopey mess. Bev is dancing with this woman. I think it was the same woman from that ceremony.
Yeah, I think she's like another doctor. And she's been kind of like casually seeing Elliot, it seems like.
And he's like nudging her, like, go talk to Bev. And she's just like, okay, let's
She's
do
like,
this.
you want to dance? Yeah.
And
Bev's got like vomit on his shirt. Hasn't showered in 3 weeks.
yeah, he is a wreck. And he's like, come on, Bev, just get into it. And then they get up and start dancing together as a group. And like, the girl is in the middle, and it's just all awkward and weird. And I was
They
like,
start like moving towards the stairs.
yeah,
They're,
Elliot's
on
like
the
dragging them
stairs.
upstairs, and I was like, so,
But it seems like this has happened before.
Yes.
Because like the way he reacts wasn't like, let's try this. It's more like, no, let's not do this time. Like,
he's like, what's the matter, Bev? This is what we do, right? And I was like, well, I thought the thing was is y'all just pretend to be each other, not
do a
like
lot of
group
Yeah.
group things
You
together.
name it, they do it, buddy.
Oh, no. Let's see, the Virginian salute.
That's just a Sunday for them.
I don't know if that's a real move.
Well, Urban Dictionary it. Or don't, probably.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay out there. But Bev gets cold feet and runs out, and then collapses out on the balcony.
yeah.
Yeah. And then, like,
That was so weird because Elliot is just like, he collapsed and he just stands there watching as that girl goes to help him. But then she's like, he's not breathing, and she starts doing CPR. But then Elliot's like, get away from him, he's my brother. And he starts doing the CPR, and I'm like, why didn't you go out there at first when he collapsed?
he threw that poor
yeah.
lady. Like, she's
Yeah,
like,
she
"Just
looks
trying to
like,
help."
"Ow." Yeah.
Yeah, that was violent, and I think this is his overprotectiveness of his twin.
Well,
But like, why didn't he run out there right away? That would make more sense.
Was it shock? Maybe.
Maybe.
but also later he's like, oh, we got to make sure they don't see the drugs in your system. So maybe like it took his mind a little bit to be like, oh, let me play this through, and like I better get involved here so that I can interject, because he's like, I had to make them not take your blood because you could ruin this whole thing. So
Well, yeah, he could lose his license.
yeah, so maybe like selfishly it made it sound like maybe he compensated because it's for like a selfish reason.
And later he does say, like, whenever someone's like, you have your own career, he's like, no, because people don't see us as two
Yeah.
different people. Like,
I think it's the same woman, right?
Yeah.
So she's like, you got to stop thinking about Beverly and think about yourself. And he's like, that's not happening. We are one and the same.
Yeah, there is no myself. There's
Well, and that's
ourself.
because he starts taking drugs because he feels like he says they have to be in sync, that they need their twin synchronicity. And so he has to be in the same mindset. And so he starts becoming a drug addict as well.
He's like, whatever goes through his body should go through mine. I'm like, well, you got to draw the line somewhere, buddy, but guess not.
It's like, how do you think you're going to help if you're in the same state?
Yeah, he's doing badly, but that's whenever he is like, women's bodies don't look right. And I think that's whenever Elliot's like, wow, this is more than just a little drug problem. Like, Beverly is going off the deep end, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's whenever he goes to have those gynecological instruments for mutant women developed by that artist, because he's like, I can't go to the normal people. And the artist guy is like, well, it's a really cool theme for a show. And he's like, this isn't art. This is science. He has those amazing blueprint things of them, like down to the crazy details. Because he always does make his own instruments, right? And so it kind of makes sense, but you're like, oh no, you can see right away that those are not okay looking.
So describe what they look like. I thought they almost looked like insect in nature, you know, like segmented, like a chrysalis. You know, only metal, obviously, but they looked very otherworldly.
Yeah, they look very alien. They look very like Giger, I think.
Yeah.
Like, and the one that's like the most prominently shown looks like this kind of skeletal scorpion finger thing with like a blade on the end. It's
And-
really scary.
Like a part of me just really wanted to know how these were supposed to work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I wish there was a little bit more.
where does the
showing that.
stinger of that scorpion tail you just made go?
I don't
You know?
think you can make logic out of drug fever dreams. Drug withdrawal fever dreams.
Oh, do you
though.
think he drew these blueprints in his barbiturate overdose state? I keep saying barbiturate because that's what the original people
I mean, I
were
think
on.
he's always on drugs now
Yeah.
at this point in the film. Like, he's always like, he can't sleep without downers. He can't be up without uppers. Like, he's
He doesn't want to
definitely-
dream, so he takes some sort of anti-dream
Yeah.
drug. Like,
It's like a sleeping pill. Yeah.
So-
and then he does use those instruments in surgery.
Yeah, and the nurse
And-
is like,
oh my
I've never
God.
seen any of these before. And he's like,
I've just had them made. They're brand new. Well, number them one to 10 from left to right. And give me the one that I asked for. Give me number 5. Now, please!
Yes,
Number 5.
And the suspense in that scene is so palpable. Like, then they're in their creepy red scrubs and everything is red. The lady is draped in red and and they just trust him though because he's made instruments in the past.
Yeah.
And that's why they go with it at first.
He's a 3-tie clamper. How are you going to tell this guy no? So they're like, all right.
Don't question me.
Yeah, this lady, nurse, or I assume she's a nurse, is like, all right, I'm going to give you number 1. And that's about as far as they get.
Actually, he asked for number 5.
Oh, number 5. That's why I'm not a doctor. I can't get numbers straight.
You can't be that nurse. And that's that weird scorpion claw thing. And then he, right away...
He's like shaking out.
Lady, and there's blood, and it falls on the ground. And
it's like so dramatic. They like put like a spotlight on it, and the camera like watches it on the ground. And
well, you see the blood on the stinger tip, and then you see Beverly freak out.
I gotta slow everything down. I need something to slow everything down.
And so he grabs her, like, her mask and starts breathing in her
trying
mask.
to get the drugs. Yeah, like, oh.
It's like, that's just going to knock you out. You're not going to be able to do surgery either. But
it would slow everything down, so he knows what he's doing.
Well, and they drag him away. Like, because then they realize she's bleeding, and they're like, wow, he really fucked up, and then it cuts to Elliot pretending to be him.
Which I love this scene, actually. It's like he's sitting in front of the medical board, and they're just all harumph, looking. He's like...
And he says they're jealous.
Yeah. He's like, look, there's a lot of prestige that goes into what I do. And I just have to be honest with myself. I love it when people use this excuse. I need to be honest with myself. I'm doing too much.
Yeah.
I need to calm down and just really put that in perspective. And, this is a cutthroat field and there's a lot of pressure to perform and blah, 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 blah. Then it cuts to him going, they didn't buy it, Bev. they knew it was me, I think. And sorry, you're suspended or something, right?
It said they wouldn't take away their hospital privileges if they never used them again.
Right. We're going to go fully into research. And Bev's like, yeah, I've always just wanted to do the research side of it. And they're like...
Well, that's what Bev says. But Elliot obviously is like not liking that.
Yeah. Knowing that that's what he wants to do, just make this equipment and do all the researching stuff. He'd be happy not to see any more patients. Bev is like, this is kind of what I want.
Yeah, but Elliot's a people person. You think he liked the people part of the business.
Well, they weren't taking away...
Yeah, and seducing all his patients. I mean, that was a big part of his
But they weren't taking away his license to practice.
But that's later together. Whenever he talks to that lady is that he's basically like, we're the same. Like, and I mean, honestly, if you were that bored, like, would you let one of them come? Because if people can't tell them apart, you would never know if you were letting Beverly do a surgery.
Oh, I would never. I would assume that their clientele would dry up.
Yeah.
No one's going to see the disgraced one doctor.
Well, I don't know if it's super public what happened though, right? Like, because they do say we still have the clinic. And
True.
So they're not able to do like some of these surgeries and stuff, but they would still have their private clinic. But that was a little confusing about why. Yeah,
but you're right. I just feel like a disgraceful like this would go public. But maybe not without the internet, maybe this was like...
Maybe they like paid her off. Like they're pretty like rich.
True.
Like, and who's gonna, I mean, like I guess the other nurses and stuff might tell people, but the client, like the patient probably wouldn't if they were like, here's a gag order and here's $1 million.
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta have, they're sharing an apartment. It's only one rent.
And I did also like that on the table in front of the medical board was all the tools that they built just like laid out like... What the fuck are these? I don't know what I made. I was on drugs.
Now look at these. These are pretty crazy.
Yeah. So then I think this is where Elliot's like, okay, look, we got to get this under control. Like you're spiraling here and we're going to lock you in the office and you're just going to have to go cold turkey.
And he's like, I can't sleep without my drugs. He's like, well, then stay awake. Well, fucking deal with it, dude.
Yeah.
And they're getting groceries delivered. And I'm like, that was a thing back then?
No, I saw that in some other movie from the 80s. I can't remember which one. I was just as blown away. I was like, holy really? Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was a new thing.
Yeah. No, nothing new under the sun. You probably had to use the phone, though, or something. It's probably terrible.
Everything old is new again.
Yeah.
That's how it's like, it's cyclical.
But how convenient could it be? I'd hate to be on the phone being like, all right, I'm going to need 2 packages of grapes, 3 oranges. It'd be like so long.
Look, it's probably an order form.
Oh, you have to fax it to them?
Or they just write a list. No, in the 50s, I think it was just called a grocery list. And you'd write your things you want on a piece of paper and you'd give it to them and they would fulfill the order and old Ollie would bring them to your doorstep.
Oh, writing? No, thank you. I'll just starve.
So Elliot has a good plan in play. Bev breaks out. He calls up the guy at the front office. He's like, I locked myself in the
Oh my God,
office.
that part was so funny. And then whenever that guy's like, are you okay? And he's like, I'm fine.
Yeah. You going down too, right? He's clearly coming down off the drugs and kind of freaking out a little bit.
And he does not. He's not good at that. He has no poker face.
No.
So if he was locked in the office, you think maybe Elliot would have said, okay, building supervisor, my brother's in there. Don't let him out.
Well, maybe he didn't. He's very like conscious of their image, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's supposed to be kind of secret that he's coming off these drugs, because he hasn't ever told people, you know, like even whenever he went before the board, he tried to say it was just stress. And so he's like, this is hush hush, you know?
Could have taken the phone. That probably would have been easy.
That would have been a smart idea.
Yeah.
But Beverly goes back to the art gallery
He's like, these are not art, these are mine.
and sees his tools on display that
I
says,
can't believe that guy stole them though, and it says it's his. Like, and I'm like,
Well, no,
you can't
I
just
think-
take that guy's
I don't think he
blueprints
stole
and
them.
say it's
I think
yours.
he just built another set.
No, but it said by him. Like, you
Yeah.
can't
Oh,
do
he took
that
his
without
idea.
permission. Like, it
stole
should at
credit.
least say credit. Yeah.
Right. But it was hilarious. It said gynecological tools for mutant women. Exactly what Beverly told him.
I mean, it is a cool title.
Yeah.
And he breaks in and he walks in rather and just starts taking them off the display. And the lady's like, you can't take those. He's like, silence. These are mine.
And she's just kind of like, whatever. I mean, what are you going to do? You going to fight this crazy guy?
Yeah.
like,
She slap fights him a little bit. And then he walks out with the tools.
I mean, he's not worth it, right? She doesn't want to, she's like, eh.
He's got all these sharp
Not mine.
tools, so
Yeah,
and he's
clearly
obviously-
this man's on drugs.
Yeah.
Why did Bev leave was because Claire is back.
Yeah.
And he finds out that she wasn't cheating on him, and then he steals those tools on the way, and then he gets there, and that's when he's like, do you have any drugs? And she's like, no, and he's like, oh my god, and he writes her a prescription.
Go get him.
Be a lot cooler if you did.
Beverly's like, if Elliot comes looking for me, don't tell him I'm here. I don't want him to know.
But then he doesn't come looking for him. Remember, he's like, he hasn't called for me. And then that's whenever she also finds his weird tools. And she's like, what are these for? And then he says that they're for separating Siamese twins, which foreshadows what's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then he's like, when he says that, it's like you already know his plan.
That's true.
Oh. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm not smart enough for that, so I did not know his plan.
We also didn't know it was coming.
That's true.
First time we saw it.
Oh, okay, thank you. Maybe
That's
I
our
am
pass.
smart enough. So if I watch it again, I'll be
Then
like,
you'll know.
Ah,
Like,
I know
aha.
what's coming.
You know, and before he had left, he had that conversation about Chang and Aang with Elliot, where they had that weird conversation about, like, I don't really know why they were talking about it though, but he was like, do you remember the first conjoined twins, the Siamese twins?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yeah, Chang and Aang. He's like, do you remember what happened to them? And he's like, yeah, one of them was like more extroverted and one of them wasn't, and one of them did drugs, and then that one died, and then the other one died of fright.
And then Elliot starts doing drugs. And then the lady's like, stop it. And he's like, nope.
Oh my God,
all
whenever
the
she
pills.
turns off the TV and he's like, that's my favorite program. It's like,
Yeah.
what? It looked like a random commercial
It
for
was
like a
like-
truck. Or
Yeah,
I think
no.
it was Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. I'm like 97% sure because I recognize the guy's voice.
Really?
Yeah.
No, you're right. It was Robin Leach.
Yeah.
Lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Can't believe you guys knew what that was.
Well, when you're old like us.
When
Yeah.
you're ancient, when you're basically menopausal like me, that show.
I was still on TV when I was watching TV, so
That show is just about showing off.
Yeah.
Look
Well,
how wealthy I am.
But that makes sense with Elliot. That's kind of like a big part
aspirational.
of his personality. It's like he very much cares what people think about him.
that's true.
Because he is the more outgoing one. Like, Bev doesn't care as much. Like, I don't think Bev is like even that embarrassed when people see him all tweaking out, you know?
Yeah.
But Elliot is. Because he doesn't, as he says to that lady that he's seeing, like, we're perceived as one person. And that's why he's like, I have to sync up with him. I have to be in the same weird drug cycle, which is like, no.
Yeah, you don't have to, dude. But all right.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good plan.
I also thought I would see more reaction from Bev when he realized that he was wrong this whole time. You know, I like maybe more regret that he spiraled out so bad and lost his career. You know, that other part of his life is ruined for
But
a perception that wasn't true.
I think he's so far gone with
Yeah.
his addiction and his like he's had a mental decline, you know, and I think he's so relieved because he still loves Claire so much that, like, in a way, I think he feels like, oh, yay, things are finally better, you know? So she confronts him about the tools. And that's when he says that they're for separating Siamese twins, which in the past they'd always been for mutant women, right? And then he goes to find Elliot. And so I think that in that moment, he's with Claire and he's like, this is the life I want. I don't want to have this life with Elliot. I need to separate us. And so he has a mission to go find his brother and separate them. And that's when he goes back to the office and he finds it is fucking gross. There is like, ew, when he gets that cake. Remember, he's like, cake and he
fistful
like
of cake. I was like, this is great. This is now my favorite part of the movie where they're just sitting around this like desecrated office with just mess everywhere. And he's like, you want some cake? And just handful of cake. Here you go.
Is that
and an
not
orange pop.
An
y'all
orange pop.
eat cake? You don't do it by a
use
handful?
utensils.
And he hands it to him by the handful.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to take it for yourself, but like someone else's hand of cake.
But was it Elliot's
It's his twin
girlfriend?
brother's hand of cake, so it's basically his hand.
You're right. They're the same person.
That's what they would say.
So was it Elliot's girlfriend or was it Claire that says, please don't go? And he's like, don't worry, I'll be back later.
It's Claire, because he's like, oh, how is Elliot going to keep me from coming back? Well, you'll see, but
Okay.
yeah, Claire's like, no, you make your choice, just stay with me and we could be druggies and live this great life.
But he feels like he has to separate them, quote unquote, and so he has to go see
And we didn't mention, but I think at some point they start doing heroin, right?
They're definitely doing all kinds of stuff. He's shooting up.
Beverly's in the doctor's office with the medical tubing around his arm, and like the receptionist is trying to come in. He's like, hey, your 8 o'clock is here. And he's like, don't come in here. And she opens the door and he's like injecting himself. She's like, I'm giving my 2-week notice. And he's like, that's fine. No, I get it. I would leave too.
Yeah, I'm surprised she gave a 2-week notice.
But wait, I'm doing heroin in here. And I just didn't know if it was heroin or something else.
Can you quit later? I'm trying to get high.
There are other things that people shoot up.
Yeah.
So it could be something. I mean, like, it could be something that they could get legally since they're doctors. I kind of think that it seems like most of the drugs they do are prescription drugs that they're just abusing.
Although now I kind of want a scene where Elliot is talking to the guy in the trench coat. Let me take 3 of the purple ones, something in the tube.
He is the guy in the trench coat.
You're right. Metaphorically.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what I meant.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nice one, John.
No problem. Totally intentional.
Yeah, this whole movie was really just made by Dare.
Yeah.
It's like what is that movie with Jennifer Connelly?
Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem for a Dream. Yeah, it's like a lighter version of that.
Oh my God, that movie.
They're both back inside of the doctor's office, and Elliot's getting into one of the exam chairs, and he's just accepted this, right?
Yeah,
this was so strange to me. It was very surreal, right? It's very surreal, probably in the state of like, he just knows what's happening, right? Elliot's accepted the fate.
I mean, I think that it's partially that he is like really drugged up, right? Like, and you know, because they have that conversation where they're like, we're going to kick it on Monday. Like, we're going to here's our prescription schedule.
This is our roadmap.
Remember, he's like, we're going to have a little treat at one point.
And I bet
like,
every addict has had that conversation.
Yeah.
Come Monday, life's turning around.
I think that was definitely what they were going for, because it's like that's true. And then, you know, he doesn't know. I think Elliot doesn't know that Beverly has an alternative kind of thing in the back of his mind. I don't know if Beverly really knows what he's going to really do either. And then he goes into the chair and he's like, don't forget the good part.
Yeah.
And he
shoots him up with the drugs. He's like, there. He says something to the effect like, I probably wouldn't feel it anyway, because they're probably so hopped up on whatever they're on anyway.
Yeah.
Elliot like speed run through the drug addiction phases to catch up to Beverly.
Yeah, it took him 6 months to spiral. Elliot 2 days.
When Elliot puts his mind to something, there's no stopping him.
I got to sync up. I'm really far behind here. He gets injected with the drugs, and then Bev moves to get the creepy scorpion apparatus and comes at it and jabs it in his stomach. But Elliot feels it.
he's not asleep.
Right.
He's just drugged out.
There's no like snap cut. There was a really jarring cut.
Then it's like it's Bev waking up. Like he's moaning kind of in his sleep, like he did when he had that nightmare about them being conjoined twins. And then he wakes up and he's like, I had a nightmare, Elliot.
And
Oh, and
just
that part is so sad.
repeats his name over and over and over again. In the background of the scene, you just see a flayed open Elliot on the table. It was out of focus, but you can tell that he ain't living anymore.
Chest cavity is like empty.
Yeah, it was like a
it's
chest
like, oh.
burster came
Yeah.
out, you know.
And almost in a sense of like Beverly's unwilling to recognize what's happened. He doesn't turn to look. He just keeps.
He
Ellie?
looks for a second.
Ellie?
And
Ellie?
then yeah,
Does he?
Yeah, and then his voice actually gets more sing-songy after that, as if he has gone into just a complete state of shock. First, he showers and shaves
Gets in a
and
trench coat.
cleans his clothes and packs. And he goes to go call Claire because he has separated himself, right? And so he's ready to start his new life as just Beverly. But then when she picks up, he doesn't say anything. And he actually leaves his bag. And he looks so defeated. And he goes back into the building because he realized that there is no separation for them, that he cannot live without his brother, just like Chang and Aang. And so he's back there, and it shows that he's taken Elliot off of the chair and he's covered him and he's like slumped over him, and he's accepted his fate that he also has to die now because they really are one person. They're not just twins, you know? It's like he can't live without him. Like there is no separation.
Two sides of the coin.
It's such a sad ending.
It is. Yeah. And I'm glad we talked about it because I feel like I understand it a little better.
I agree.
And like I was
Thank
saying
you.
before, yeah, thank you.
Now you guys maybe like it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that is Dead Ringers. And upon review, I think I would recommend it. I think if you're looking for a movie, like you guys said at the beginning, in the vein of an American Psycho or a thriller psychological study, I think it's probably worth revisiting if you saw it and need a second look at it with fresh eyes. I think that's important.
Yeah.
To be able to review stuff again and give it another chance.
And I think it is a kind of horror. It's just a quieter, more introspective kind of psychological horror, which is what I really like. Although I also do like zombies and gore and stuff. But I think that it's good to mix it up sometimes and see this kind of movie and not just like the alligator.
Boo on thinking. Give me Uncle Sam.
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
And you got to be willing to let directors take new avenues and make new things,
I
right?
agree.
Like how we said the other day, where Rob Zombie is making The Munsters, totally out of his wheelhouse, and everybody give him a chance to do something new. And it looks like Cronenberg went out of the wheelhouse.
And I think it is still very Cronenberg. It's just a different
Right.
part of him. And then it is like Crimes of the Future. Although I did not like that very much.
They can't all be winners. Well, any other lingering thoughts on this movie before we wrap up?
It was a good movie. It was. Not what I was expecting, but it was a good movie.
Potentially expect a remake
No,
on Amazon.
that's not allowed.
TV show. Yeah.
Everything's got to be a TV show.
Yeah. Well,
How could
why?
this be a TV show?
I don't know.
Your wife did want to see this be successful, so
Right? She wanted to see the con.
Yeah,
Maybe they
so-
start out with the con a few times.
or them in school.
Oh my god, that sounds
The
like a
college years.
sitcom or something. Oh my god.
Emma, thank you for coming back and introducing us to a new movie.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you again here probably in a couple weeks when we do Return of the Living Dead. If you did tune in expecting to hear Nope, we're still doing Nope as well. It's just Garrett really, really wants to do that one too, and he's sick.
Yeah.
So, coming soon to a theater already out there.
Yeah. By the time you listen, it'll probably actually not be in theaters anymore, but
We're going to have to watch it on streaming.
Yeah.
Well, listener, what did you think of Dead Ringers? Did you like it? Let us know in our comments section. We've got a Twitter, a Instagram, a Facebook page. You can find all our stuff at thegravetalk.com
And a TikTok.
and a TikTok
But
that
you
is
haven't
still
done it.
blank. Maybe we should just dissolve it. By the time TikTok fad is over, we'll miss the boat.
You gotta make at least one. You guys gotta do a little dance.
Yeah. Well, we don't know
out
what's
here.
coming up next. It's probably Nope. It could be Return of the Living Dead. Those are things we're looking at in the future. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.